AOC got exposed like never before.
But would you also agree that the greatest freedom in America and in any free country is the freedom to hate? And this goes to the debate on our college campuses.
During a town hall, AOC was asked about free speech. And after talking in circles, the man cut through it all with a single line pointing to the flaws in her argument.
But I'm telling you that the greatest freedom is for us to allow anyone who wants to hate without violence, without threats, without incitement, and that is true.
And today, we're telling you all about it. So let's kick things off with the question that started it all.
My name is James Scott Berry. I want to admit I too am a registered Republican. However, my mantra of my life is always be willing to be wrong. So maybe you or some of my friends here can convince me to be a Democrat, okay?
I'll take you up on it.
I used to always call myself a demo pub anyway since I was a teenager. My question is, I think we can all agree that love is the greatest aspect of humanity. But would you also agree that the greatest freedom in America and in any free country is the freedom to hate? And this goes to the debate on our college campuses. The freedom to hate is the greatest freedom because in many countries you cannot. And in America, you can hate, well, my time is a little bit taken, okay? In America, you can hate Donald Trump, and because it's not against the law, he cannot put you in prison. Isn't that a great thing?
Props to the man for bringing this up, because this is an issue many tend to dance around when it suits their argument. You see, at its core, freedom of speech means being able to say what you want, as long as it doesn't cross into incitement, threats, or defamation. Yet, in recent years, the left has stretched that definition to also include what they describe as hate speech on the basis of it being offensive or causing emotional harm. On top of that, there's been a push by Democrats to outright censor opinions of information that they don't agree with, or under the guise of misinformation, as if someone has appointed them arbiters of truth. Now that we laid the groundwork, let's see how AOC responded.
I think I understand where you're trying to go here, and I think part of it is, I think at the bedrock of what you're discussing is freedom of speech,
right,
and the freedom of expression.
Right.
And that is what I would call it.
Yes.
I think that we have a freedom to express ourselves, but we should also know that in the United States, there are also limitations on our freedom of speech.
No, only if it involves violence or threats, things that are illegal. But that's not free speech.
And so,
that's threat. Threats are not free speech.
So, and also, beyond violence,
I don't think you should
threats,
say that. I don't think you should say that because that's confusing the issue.
I just want to introduce some nuance to the conversation. That's okay. So, I just want to throw some nuance into the conversation, and I'm not trying to have an argument here. I want to have a discussion.
Okay. This is a sitting member of Congress, but she doesn't have a basic understanding of how free speech actually works. And she's not the only one. A couple of years ago, John Kelly told the World Economic Forum that the First Amendment stands as a major block against hammering disinformation out of existence. Mind you, this is coming from a guy with degrees in political science and law. Then you have Kamala, who is teasing another presidential run in 2028, God help us all, but she's vowing to hold social media platforms responsible for hate. I can go on for hours, but you get the point. And if you want proof of how this plays out in real time, just look at what happened next. The man asking the question had his mic cut off. But before we get to that, we have a quick message from today's sponsor. Recently, the U.S. Department of Energy has rolled out $2.7 billion in contracts aimed at rebuilding domestic uranium enrichment. Now, this is not just another funding move. It signals urgency. The U.S. needs its own uranium supply, and the timeline is tightening. But here's the gap. The U.S. consumes over 50 million pounds of it each year, but produces less than 1 million domestically. That leaves us heavily reliant on foreign suppliers. With Russia dominating enrichment capacity and escalating tensions in Iran, the exposure is pretty hard to ignore. That is where Kirkstone Metals enters the picture, trading as KSM in Canada and KSMCF in the US. The leadership team brings years of uranium and junior mining experience with a history of building value through exploration. The key question remains, can they repeat that success? Kirkstone owns 2 uranium projects in the Athabasca Basin, widely known as one of the top uranium districts globally. At their flagship Key Lake project, early drilling has already confirmed high-grade uranium close to the surface, but the team believes the real prize lies deep underground. This basin accounts for over 20% of global discoveries. Yet Kirkstone trades at a market cap below 12 million. That contrast becomes even more interesting when you factor in strong government mandates with rising uranium prices, with some forecasts pointing above $100 per pound by 2026. All of these combined make Kirkstone strategically positioned to capitalize on the reshoring efforts. So, if you want to learn more about their story and the team that has delivered big results in the past, check out the link in the description. A special thanks to Kirkstone Metals for making today's video possible.
I'll just let you know my perspective. You know, we can disagree at the end of it, but I want to at least let you know my perspective. My perspective is that we absolutely have a protected freedom of speech. Someone can say, I hate so-and-so, and that is protected speech. When we think about one of the landmark freedom of speech cases brought down by the Supreme Court, one of those cases and one of the verdicts said another form of speech that is not protected is yelling fire in a crowded movie theater, because that will force people to trample one another. And so that's not protected speech. So
You can yell fire in the theater if there's a fire.
if there's a fire, right. Right, sir, but he's saying, you know, in the landmark speech, no, sir, it's fine. Oh, sir, no, it's, and you can turn his mic on. You don't have to cut it off. I did not ask that to happen.
Thank you very much.
No, that's totally fine.
Notice how AOC framed her response by focusing on what free speech isn't, just to build her case for more restrictions. The man's initial question was simple. Being able to criticize the president without facing jail time is a fundamental right. But instead of engaging with that, she shifted the conversation. And that's not accidental. It's intentionally done to blur the line between protected speech and actual crimes, which makes it easier to steer the discussion towards censorship. Over time, that kind of messaging has an effect. For instance, a survey from the Cato Institute found that 24% of respondents believe it's illegal to make racist statements in public. Now, I'm not arguing for that kind of behavior, but this absurd example goes to show how the narrative the Democrats push leads to a less informed public.
Where I do get concerned is where that line is played with so that we have plausible deniability to incite violence against people. I don't think that the president should have tweeted that video that he tweeted. Do I think he should have gone to jail for it? Absolutely not. But I don't think he should have done that. I think that by endangering Congresswoman Omar, he was playing with this line. And
Well, I disagree. She endangered herself, okay? That's not endangerment.
And
By
sir-
showing the truth. So showing the truth is endangerment, is inciting violence to show the truth. That is fascism.
well, sir, I don't think anyone's trying to ban that speech.
His right to show the truth of what happened is just as valid as her right
It is.
to say whatever she
And
wants to
sir,
say.
and sir, that's why that's why there's no charges being brought up
Being
against
criticized
him.
by you as though there should be charges.
No, I don't think there should be charge. I don't want to make
Because
sure
you
that I
say he's
clarify.
inciting violence against her.
I think he is.
That's absurd. I'm telling you that the greatest freedom is for us to allow anyone who wants to hate without violence, without threats, without incitement, and that is true.
That is true.
You're
Yeah.
bringing incitement and hate speech together, which is totally absurd and fascist.
Okay. Well, thank you, sir.
The tweet AOC pointed to came from 2019 when Trump reposted Ilhan Omar's own words about 9/11, where she said, "Some people did something," and he simply added the caption, "We will never forget." If you consider those 4 words as incitement and eventually outlaw it, well, a good chunk of the Democratic base would end up behind bars, because we've all seen their reactions after Charlie Kirk's assassination, not to mention the attempt on Trump's life. But leave it to AOC to act oblivious to such things and struggle to define basic rights. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on this story. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And remember, you heard it here at the Dais.